Welcome to this Broadcom video on the configuration of software instances. This video shows how to configure an instance. We'll explain the various configurations like the technical AAI specs and the specs of the CA7 instance. We'll also configure the data acquisition processes, cycles, delivery directory, and so forth. We select option C on the instance we created. There are three areas of configuration. Configuration of the AAI server host so that the software can deliver the data files, configuration of the CA7 instance so that the software can source the CA7 data, and the software itself. Here we set the data acquisition polling cycles. Option 1 leads to AAI server settings. This means network address and dedicated data path for delivery. This should match the directory we created on the AAI host during the preparation phase. We also set the user for SFTP or FTP, which was also created on the AAI server during the prep phase. We have to select a delivery method, either FTP, SFTP, FTPS, or FTPR. When using SFTP, we may have to specify a USS configuration file that sets system-wide SSH parameters. You reference the path and name here. Finally, if you're using regular FTP, there's a password field. This password is optional and will depend on your FTP configuration. You have to provide a port if you're not using the 21 default. We have an entire video dedicated to file transfer mechanisms. You can press enter when you are done. On the next screen, we configure the CA7 information for the instance from which we are sourcing data. The user ID field should contain a user ID that can access CA7 and issue the various commands that we outline in the documentation. This could be an existing user ID or one that is specifically created for use by the CA7 server for AAI. There is a CA7 password field. The CA7 password is optional and will depend on CA7 security configuration. The software acquires CA7 event data using current and history logs. There are two current logs, P for primary and S for secondary. CA7 archives these logs by switching between the primary and secondary, depending on what is being sent to the archive. This archive is called history GDG base. We need to specify the log prefix, and then the software will append the P and S suffixes automatically. Should we need to acquire data no longer found in the current log because it's been archived, we'll need to get to the GDG base. This is especially useful for the initial connection, when older records were archived and removed from the current logs. If you want AI to go further back in time, say weeks or months, you source history GDG base. Specify an available unit to be used to allocate sort work-d space for sorting CA7 log data. We press enter to confirm. Finally, the last screen is the software itself. Here, we set the polling frequencies for both events and definitions. For events, the default cycle is 30 seconds, but you can go as low as 15. We also set the span. Typical values, like 30 seconds for cycle and 2 minutes for span, guarantee several things. AAI and CA7 are in sync, performance impacts are minimized, file size during FTP transfer is reasonable, and there is sufficient overlap in the data being sent to avoid gaps. Redundant data included in that extra 90 seconds is simply ignored by AAI. Each time a cycle executes, the checkpoint file is updated with a date and timestamp. Next, we look at definitions data. You can set acquisition to manual only, which means we have to manually trigger the send. If automated, the acquisition cycle is always much lower than the event data. Definitions are stable. Unlike events, they don't change very often. The default is once a day at 1:15 midnight, but you could conceivably poll twice a day if your scheduling configurations are being updated. A CA7 scheduling configuration can contain tens of millions of definition objects, and CCI term sends the full set of definitions. This translates into potentially large data files, which may take hours to transfer to the AAI host. Finally, this section sets the ZFS data path, the directory where all event and definition data, RPT70, LDSN, LJOB, SCAL, and timezone files will be generated. When you confirm, A mount statement is generated and is added to the cust.lib library as member AI7M, to which the AAI server ID and last character of the CA7 instance ID are appended. You should also add this mount statement to the sys1.parm libmember bpx prmxx, so that the ZFS file system is mounted at lpar IPL. You press enter when you are done. This is a sample of the configuration datasets. We find the AAI instance ID, the AAI host DNS, the delivery directory path, the file transfer method, and so forth. You will see this information once the instance has been configured. Thank you. This concludes the video.